Hi, and welcome to our message this week. My name is Reverend Donna, and I'm with Our Sacred Journeys. And we have been talking all month about the first four chapters in the Science of Mind text. The first week was the thing itself. The second week, we talked about the way it works. And this week, we're going to talk about what it does. And by it, I mean God. I mean that infinite presence, that love, that light, that essence of who we are, and what that means to each and every one of us on a personal level, not just on a literal level or metaphorical level or an impersonal level, but what does it mean personally about what it does? How does God express through and as me? And Ernest Holmes in this chapter talked about principle. He talked about love and law, love being the personal aspect of God, law being the impersonal. And there is a quote in this chapter where he says, love points the way and the law makes it possible. So if there's something that's calling to my heart to create or how to show up in the world, that's love. And the way that it manifests through me, through actions, through choices, through interactions, whatever it may be, is law. It's impersonal. It's that creative medium that's working through each and every one of us. And we'll talk more about that next week. Today, I wanted to really focus on what it does. And it's that opportunity for us to really tap into that infinite knowingness that's within us that already knows. That already knows who we are, what is unfolding, how it's working, but it's calling itself from within us to express itself. And it starts with our thoughts. And Ernest Holmes also has a quote that says, thoughts are things. That if I think of something, that is a prayer, and I'm putting that into motion, those words, those feelings behind the words into action. And how do I focus my thoughts in a way that unfolds what it is I want to experience? The beauty of it is if something manifests in my world and I'm not happy with it, or I wish it was different, I can change my thinking. When I was introduced to Science of Mind back in 1987, the tagline was change your thinking, change your life. And I didn't realize what all that meant. I was a junior in high school, very shy, very introverted, and I didn't quite grasp what that meant. And what change your thinking, change your life means to me now is that it's empowering me to make different choices. If there's something that's calling itself forth from within me, and I'm listening to that divine intuition, I'm listening to that divine guidance, and I say yes and step out into the world, I might be changing something within me. Maybe I'm saying yes to something that would usually make me uncomfortable, and I'd rather stay in my comfort zone, so I say no. Maybe it's speaking up when there's something going on that I would normally be quiet about, because I don't like conflict. It could be doing something differently. I know I read recently on Facebook, somebody said, sometimes it's taking a look at your daily routines and making a change to your daily routine to change how you are showing up in the world and maybe becoming even more successful. That's empowering us. The other thing I loved about Science of Mind when I first found it in 1987, even though I was very shy, I was still processing it for a very long time, and I think I still do, is the fact that we have accountability and we're responsible for our choices. So if there's something going on in my world that I'm not happy with, I get to make that decision to do it differently. No one else can do that. I have to make that decision and then follow through. And again, the universe and what it does, and God and what it does, is express itself through me. So if I make a different choice, what it does is expressing itself through me in a different way. And it gives us that opportunity to truly have a different experience in our world. And I wonder sometimes if we realize the impact we have in the world. There's a story about a servant, someone who's working in their master's home, and they take water on pots. They have like a stick and they have the pots on both sides. And they every morning carry those pots to the river to fill them and bring them back to the home to water, to do wash, cook, whatever it is. And one of the pots has a small crack in it, and it doesn't like it. And it feels like that it's not doing its full part, that it's not serving as well as it could be. Because by the time the servant gets to the main house, a lot of the water in that pot has leaked out through that hole. And one day the pot is just so despondent, so upset about what's happening. And they have a conversation, and the pot's basically apologizing for not being whole. And the person says, have you ever noticed the ground on your side of the walkway? When we walk to the river and when we walk back, it's different sides. And the pot thought about it and realized that there was a difference between the two different sides of the walkway. And what it didn't realize was the side of the walkway to the home coming back from the river had beautiful flowers, had vegetation. It looked beautiful. And the servant said, I knew what that was. I knew about the crack in the pot. So I planted seeds on that side of the walkway on purpose, knowing that every morning when I walked out to the river and came back, that you would be watering that. So now we have beautiful flowers that decorates our master's home. We get to enjoy the beauty because of you. And I wonder sometimes how we can translate that into our own world, that there are parts of us that we may feel aren't whole, or we are not serving the purpose we're feeling called to serve. And yet I believe we are. It might be showing up in a different way. It might have a different understanding on how I'm coping with it. But at the same time, it's the universe having its way through me uniquely. It's having a way that it couldn't in any other way except through the way it is through me or through you or whomever is listening to this or hears the story. That story of the cracked pot can definitely remind us that even in that part where we don't feel as whole, it's serving a purpose. There's another saying that says that the light comes through that broken hole, that it illuminates it. And that is the truth too. We are made of light. The light, we're light beings. The light is the truth of who we are. And when we feel a crack somewhere, that's where the light's shining through. Maybe in a different way that would if we were created a little differently, or we had a hole in a different area. But I really want us to think about how we can empower ourselves to see those places where we may feel less than whole and know it is the divine expressing itself through us in a unique way. How magnificent and how beautiful that is. What a gift. What a gift it is to have that experience. I wanted to read something from the chapter, What It Does in the Science of Mind. And it's on my copy of the Science of Mind. It's on page 46. He says, the principle restated. And I wanted you to hear Ernest Holmes' words. Let us restate our principle. We are surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, and reason. In expressing itself through us, it becomes more fully conscious of its own being. Therefore, it wishes to express through us. As it passes into our being, it automatically becomes the law of our lives. It can pass into expression through us only as we consciously allow it to do so. Therefore, we should have faith in it and its desires and its ability to do for us all that we shall ever need to have done. Since it must pass through our consciousness to operate for us, we must be conscious that it is doing so. That's where our work is in the prayer, is in our consciousness. How do we raise that vibration? Later in this chapter, he talks about prayer or treatment. He says, a treatment is a statement in the law embodying the concrete idea of our desires and accompanied by an unqualified faith that the law works for us as we work with it. Let us waste no further time looking for the secret of success or the key to happiness. Already the door is open, and whosoever will may enter. And he goes on to talk about trained thought is more effective than just willy-nilly thought. I use that word myself. That's not Ernest Holmes' word. So if we can focus our thought, if we can focus where our attention is, we reap the benefits in an even greater way. And Ernest Holmes talks about treatment as a way to align our consciousness with that higher truth. Other faith traditions may refer to it as my will aligning with God's will. Or we have choice, we have free will. In religious science, we call it volition. In other faith traditions, there's other words for it. Agency is one in the LDS tradition, that agency is that they have a choice on how they're going to respond. So we have a choice in how we are showing up in the world. We use volition. So what I want us to think about right now as I close, as I go into prayer, to remember to focus your thoughts on something it is that you want to create. It's kind of like when you're thinking about buying a white car and all of a sudden there's white cars everywhere when you never used to see a white car. Kind of the same thing. Or you're thinking about getting a dog and you're thinking about a particular breed and all of a sudden that's what you see at the dog park. That's what someone calls you about, or you see a picture on Facebook. It's almost like our consciousness is becoming more and more aware of it. So as I close in prayer, I invite you to think about something it is you would like to express or experience. And as I turn within in prayer, I recognize and know that there's only God. I recognize and know that who I am is a divine expression of spirit, that as I drop down into that heart space deep within me, where my heart doors are open wide to receive love and to express love. Just like the ocean wave, it ebbs and flows. Love flows through me, to me, through me, to me, continually, continually, continually. And I recognize and know that is God in action. As I recognize and know that each and every one of us are made in the image and likeness of pure spirit, I give thanks for knowing that God is that love, the truth, the light, the wisdom, the grace, the joy, beauty, all that it is that we embody as spirit. And I recognize and know there's a higher idea unfolding for each and every one of us. That I recognize and know that as I turn my thought outwards, I sense and know there's a higher idea. I give thanks for the grace that is love expressing itself. I give thanks for absolutely knowing that all is unfolding in ease and grace. That in the midst of each and every experience that each and every one of us are experiencing right now, God is in the midst. As I release my word into the law, I know it is done. I let it be, I let go, I let God. I am very, very thankful, and so it is. I'll talk more about the different steps of treatment or affirmative prayer. That is what we call our form of prayer, spiritual mind treatment. And thank you again for listening. I wish you the best through the week. Namaste.